Worth flows onto the XRP ledger as tokens are added to it, and the real worth of XRP will come from the financial market, infrastructures, and all the banks that are connected to it. We are focusing on it because that is where real institutional value will emerge. Some of Ripple's most important partners are ones I concocted. We will examine the true worth of those banks and calculate the amount of XRP that would be worth per token if that value were to be added to the XRP ledger using the current supply. The answer is hundreds of dollars. I will explain everything in detail here. How big is Ripple? That should be our first step. In my opinion, Ripple has more relationships than other crypto businesses when you consider the whole crypto ecosystem and all of the companies building in it. I believe that when discussing the size of financial market infrastructure and central banks, Ripple and XRP are linked to various global payment systems like CHIPS, CHAPS. HBAR is likely very close, and HBAR could be a major contender in this space. With MUFG Bank, Ripple has formed a significant alliance. Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group is reportedly worth around $2.9 trillion, making it one of the most valuable financial conglomerates in the world. In more than 40 countries, you may find their 2,000 outlets. They clearly have a lot of money stashed away at this bank. From hearing these CEOs, we may deduce that tokenization of this value is imminent. Would it be completely out there to assume that the XRP ledger will hold part, if not all, of this value if the bank is collaborating with Ripple? Every bank that Ripple works with has the option to have its own private ledger. Tokenizing deposits would be an option for that bank. They can transfer their bonds, stocks, or anything else of value to the XRP ledger and store it on their private ledger. And so if they desire to transfer value, whether it is because customers sell different goods or because they simply want to, it can be done quickly and cheaply. Additionally, Standard Chartered is an example of a large bank with assets of around $822 billion. Are these two banks the only ones? Assets valued at about $4 trillion. You can see that Santander is somewhat smaller in this area. It was around 102 for Santander NA. Santander Bank North America is this, obviously it varies on a global scale, but their assets here are around $102 billion. The total assets of Bank of Santander increased from 358 billion euros in 2021 to 1.8 trillion euros in 2023. Very well. Thus, they have amassed a fortune of several $1 trillion on a global scale. Then I found myself gazing at some of the most massive banks in the world. As an added bonus, Ripple is interconnected with numerous Chinese financial institutions, including UBS, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, and MUFG Bank. They are either directly involved with Ripple's operations or are business associates of someone who is. This includes Wells Fargo, Societe Generale, HSBC, UBS, and Goldman Sachs. Actually, another bank, Tranglo, is linked to Bank of China. Without a doubt, the value of Santander Group, Royal Bank, and RBC Royal Bank is enormous. The world's largest banks are these. Truly, they are partners with Ripple. You can see that each of these banks has assets worth billions of dollars if you look at this. Thus, 6,300 billion, 6.3 trillion. All right, I was just going to hand you that, trillions of dollars. Agricultural Bank of China and Industrial Commercial Bank of China are two examples of massive collaborations in this context. In the amount of $3.8 trillion, JP Morgan Chase and Bank of China Limited are involved. The total assets of Bank of America are $3.1 trillion. $2.8 billion are held by BNP Paribas. Would it be completely out there to assume that the XRP ledger will house some or even most of this value? In my opinion, it is the outcome that will transpire. I can't say for sure when it will happen, but I predict wild price swings when major institutions begin to transfer all of their assets to the blockchain, driving up prices by trillions of dollars. Get a feel for the quake this will cause. HSBC has recently dropped the bombshell. The seventh largest bank in the world by assets, HSBC is launching a crypto offensive with Ripple and Medico. Am I correct? This is what you asked for. What would happen if the XRP ledger was enhanced with $2.9 trillion in values? What impact would that have on the cost? Am I correct? An awful chunk of this work was truly my doing. Very well. Since I can feel some of you eagerly awaiting my arrival at this point, I'm going to skip ahead. View this now. Using the present circulating quantity of $57.76 billion XRP, adding $3 trillion to the XRP ledger would result in a price per XRP of approximately $50. $3 trillion is all it is. Envision a world where stable coinage, digital money issued by central banks, and the tokenization of assets all take place over the next 5 to 10 years. Even if these institutions only receive $3 trillion, it would be a tremendous leap to $50. We would get $86 if we increased it to $5 trillion with the existing supply and circulation. $10 trillion would equal $173. Am I correct? With $10 trillion, you're hardly scratching the surface of the global market. Am I correct? Is it absurd to assume that a top technology for financial institutions and central banks will only be worth a fraction of a percent? In all seriousness, I'd say this may be as low as 5% or 10%. Am I correct? You can understand how this may swiftly get out of hand when dealing with sums of $10 trillion, $50 trillion, or $100 trillion. Staking, alternative investment funds, AMFs, long-term holders, including banks and central banks and so on, all contribute to lowering the circulating supply. We still haven't reached the stage where financial institutions are actively purchasing cryptocurrency, both to store it and use it as collateral for their assets and to sell it to their clients. Am I correct? Which is our relationship. If you were to double this by 10, each token would be worth over $1,700, and the total value of the XRP ledger would be $100 trillion. You might theoretically obtain $5,000, $6,000, or $7,000 per XRP if the circulating quantity were reduced by, say, 20 or 30 billion tokens. Return with me to a portion of this data. Since I'm sure some of you have been waiting, I figured it was time to address that. Guys, press the like button if you're learning anything from this video and finding it useful. Both the channel and I benefit from it. You have my deepest gratitude for that. Well, it's no surprise that HSBC and Medico plan to digitize and tokenize all of their assets with the help of blockchain technology. The HSBC Technology Advisor Group is here for you. Chris Larsson, Ripple's executive chairman, is actually involved in this if you look closely. From eBay, you can get it. For some reason, I can't help but wonder if any other blockchain companies are participating. I see here we have an AI specialist in e-commerce and the internet, and a blockchain expert. I see. You won't find any other blockchain firm in that area. Do you see that? Also, HSBC possesses over $3 trillion. That has previously been discussed. Wells Fargo's asset value is close to $1.7 trillion, yet another partner of Ripple. Here is some evidence to support that. Using Ripple, Wells Fargo is investigating this field. Our system enables the simultaneous existence of fiat currency and cryptocurrency, it states. Feeling good about that? Are there any more attachments to this? I'll check. By any chance, was it not? This is another document. Take a closer look. This is for the benefit of Swift on wellsfargo.com. Additionally, you can see that we will be sending payment messages in an empty format until late 2023 if you scroll down this page. We plan to start sending payment messages in MX format by the end of 2023. On the other hand, it seems like they're only highlighting the messages they'll be utilizing until late 2023 down here. This is something that piqued my interest. Listen, this clip is kind of relevant, but I still want you to pay attention. Here we have an executive from Wells Fargo. Excuse me, but I must inform you that during SIBO 2023, Wells Fargo will be represented by its head of Global Treasury Management and CIB Segment Solutions. Pay attention to what this woman has to say on the bank's actual activity level regarding the times when customers can make and receive payments. If you're under the impression that people can make 2 payments per day since banks are open around the clock, you might be surprised to hear otherwise. That is not the case. That's even lower. Take a look at this. Is that so? In other words, you stand in for a sizable North American institution. Are you in agreement with one another? Yes, I do agree with France, and I'd even go so far as to add a 4th point to that. I would also add predictability, but I'll explain why I'm adding a 4th shortly. Knowing the cost and speed up front is crucial, particularly for a US bank. And I'll explain why that is in just a moment. However, I believe that achieving cost is also a very difficult task for many of the same reasons that France mentioned, that we are in an open network in correspondent banking. We frequently have many entities in different jurisdictions, don't you think? Simply because actually Wells Fargo in California and Wells Fargo in New York are two separate organizations, aren't they? Those would be run by separate entities, yet they are actually the same bank. Transferring